Today, I wanted to share with you everything that I knew and all the information that I had gathered about places to stay when you go to visit Yellowstone National Park. These are all of the inns and hotels, lodges, cabins, and campgrounds, and the details that you might want to know about the booking. So stay with me, and I'm going to flash forward where I have the map of the park available to you, and I will take you on a trip, show you where these places are, where you might want to stay, and then hopefully you can take this information and you can plan your Yellowstone National Park vacation. For more information about everything that I'm sharing with you, you can go over to npsfamilytravel.com and you can find the post that is about Yellowstone accommodations. I do have these broken down into charts with a notes column that does give some pertinent information, especially about the different campgrounds and what they have available to you in terms of amenities. Everything else is there as well, including booking windows and links on how to book. Thanks for joining. So the area that we're going to start looking at today is the Old Faithful area. And that's down here in the southwest section of the park. As you can see, this is where the visitor center and education centers are. And this is where you can stay at the Old Faithful Inn. They also have the Snow Lodge, and they also have the log cabins. They have the Science Center and Museum with the Visitor Center and the Heritage Center there. And the Heritage Center is where they have traveling people of native cultures that spent time in the park historically, and they bring in a lot of their stories and crafts and activities to share at that Heritage Center. That's a relatively new use of that space. I think it's been going on a year or two. So that is a lot of fun and a new sort of opportunity to engage people while you're in the Old Faithful area. Of course, that's where Old Faithful Geyser is. So that's something that you should definitely not miss. The Old Faithful Inn is such a beautiful historic building that you should not miss the opportunity to go and see it. And while you're inside, you can go and get ice cream, which my kids always enjoy doing. Now, if we are going to go sort of clockwise, starting at Old Faithful, we will end up over here in the Madison area. Now, the Madison area does not actually have any sort of lodge or inn to stay in, but they do have a campground that is run by Xanterra. Xanterra is the park concessionaire that also runs all the lodges in the park. So that is a developed campground. It has some different amenities. The thing about the campgrounds that people don't talk about so much is that actually most of the campgrounds, you are allowed to bring a trailer or an RV, a motorhome into these campgrounds. The issue is the majority of them don't have any sort of hookup. The only one that has a hookup we'll get to in another section of the park, but the other campgrounds are, almost all of them are RV friendly. There are some length limits, and then some of them have dump stations, some do not. I believe all of them have potable water, and that's something that you can cross-reference on my website on NPS Family Travel. I have some breakdowns of all of the different campgrounds within the park and just some notes to help you know exactly what to expect in those campgrounds. So here we are in Madison, where you can snag yourself a campsite. Since it is run by the concessionaire, the Madison Campground, if that's where you choose to stay, and it is a very convenient place to stay in the park, you can book those campsites up to 13 months in advance. It's 13 months on the 5th of the month that the booking session opens. So you will want to get in as quickly as possible, because most of the traffic, especially at the campgrounds, is all within a very short season. So to get a great site in the right season, you'll want to get in 13 months in advance to Xanterra's website. Okay, and then you will notice as we leave the park, this is the west entrance, and this goes out to West Yellowstone, where there are a lot of different types of accommodations. There is a KOA campground, there are inns and hotels out there. This West Yellowstone area is where you can find the Under Canvas facility, where you can stay in a yurt or a teepee, I believe. So that's a lot of fun if you are looking for a real diversity of experience. And then you can see over here is Henry's Lake State Park. So if you would like to stay at a public campground, a public facility, and either you don't want to be in the park or you cannot get a reservation within the park, you could check out Henry's Lake State Park and see if there are any campsites available there for you. So then from Madison, we're going to loop on. This is the southern loop, of course. We're going to loop on north up here to Norris. And Norris also does not have any sort of an inn or a lodge where you can stay, but there are some different campgrounds in this area that you could potentially find a place to stay. In fact, a lot of the campgrounds actually in that area are run by the National Park Service. I don't see any of them that are run by Xanterra that are in the Norris area, just the Madison campground, but not in the Norris area. If you want to stay in this area of the park, you're going to want to stay at one of the NPS run campgrounds. And those have a different booking window. They have, I believe it's a 6-month booking window. Then as we are going north, this is another NPS run campground. It is on the way up to Mammoth. This is Indian Creek Campground. This is that one that's halfway-ish between Mammoth and Norris. And that one you can reserve through NPS. It's run by NPS. And yes, you may bring RVs into that campground. There just are not any sort of hookups or facilities there. But a lot of people want the hookups, especially electricity, so that they can run their air conditioning in the summer. And Yellowstone is at such a high elevation. Notice most of these campgrounds are really at close to 8,000 feet. So I think you may hit like maybe some 80-degree days where there's about 80 as the high, but you're going to stay usually in very comfortable temperature ranges. So I don't think it is terribly necessary to have that AC. I know that in our little RV, we could be very comfortable not having any hookups as long as we are at that elevation during the summer. Then you keep going around the loop and you get closer to Mammoth up here. Mammoth is right here by the northern entrance of the park. At Mammoth, you have a visitor center. At Mammoth, you also have the former Fort Yellowstone and the grounds of that, which are a lot of fun to see. There is a hotel at Mammoth or a lodge, and you could stay there. They also have the Mammoth campground, and both the Mammoth campground and the Mammoth hotel or inn or lodge, those are both run by the concessionaire. So those both have that 13-month booking window. Here you're going to notice right here, we can pop right on north into Gardner, Montana. We really love Gardner, Montana as a family. This is where the Roosevelt Arch is. It's at that northern entrance to the park. Gardner is very beautiful. You have Paradise Valley just beyond Gardner, and that is the location of the famous Yellowstone TV show, of course. There are the Chico Hot Springs. I think that's the resort up there. There is a former KOA that is now run by, I want to say like maybe Sun Outdoors, but there's a very nice upscale sort of resort style campground that is up just north of Gardner that you could stay at if you want to stay in sort of a quieter area, but still have some proximity to the park. Also in Gardner, right Past the Roosevelt Arch, you have a series of little shops. Now, I haven't been since there was all of the flood damage last year, but you did have a series of little shops, and there was a really great little pizza place up there that our family always enjoyed. A nice way to get a little break from all of the activity inside of the park in just a quieter area. That's very close to Mammoth. So then if we pop back into the park and we head east along the northern loop, we are going to come this way, sort of follow the river. And over in this area right here, I believe, is where the Roosevelt Lodge is. It's just not spoken about too much. I actually had to do some digging to find very much information on that. In those facilities, they're a little bit rustic. They don't have rooms within the little cabins that you rent there. There is a shared bathroom facility. But you're up here in a very quiet area of the park where you have the Lamar Valley and the Hayden Valley there in this area. And there are great rocking chairs out on the porch of this Roosevelt Lodge. There are some different meals that are served family style. I hear that they have very nice breakfast in the morning. And then you have a couple of campgrounds. These two different campgrounds are both run by the National Park Service. This one you can see is, I believe it may still be closed, actually, the Slough Creek. And then down here, of course, you have the Tower Fall Campground. This one's a little bit lower than some of the other ones at 6,600 feet. I think, wasn't it Tower Falls, I think may have had actually the amphitheater. You can cross-check me. It's hard to remember every detail. And here we go towards the east entrance to the park. This is the Pebble Creek campground, and then we will continue around the northern loop, heading south again. So again, the only place to stay up in this region is really the Roosevelt Lodge and a couple of campgrounds. It just is a quieter section of the park and really a great section, probably what most people would say is the best section for viewing wildlife because you have these huge valleys. So just the scope of everything that you can see all at one time is most accessible. So then we're going to start cruising down south, and we're going to find ourselves in Canyon. Canyon is a very popular section of the park. You have a visitor center. There are lots of places to stay in Canyon. There was a hotel complex that was built there. There's some controversies surrounding some of that, but there are a lot of opportunities and places to stay here in Canyon. There is food, there are gift shops. This is a very close proximity to the Grand Canyon of the Yellowstone as well. There are also some campgrounds in this area. And then we can go south. We're going to end up at, this is the Fishing Bridge Visitor Center. And this gets us to our next little bit of information about campgrounds, because it is the campgrounds at Fishing Bridge that are the only full hookup RV sites in all of the park. And those campsites are usually close to $90 a night. They've just redone them. They look fantastic. I think they were closed last year and they're just opening back up again, I think, after the renovation. So they look fantastic. Those are going to go very, very quickly. They'll be very difficult to get those reservations. They are run by Xanterra, the park concessionaire, and those you will want to book at the 13-month window for sure. But fortunately, this part of the park, there's a lot going on, so you're going to be in a great location. This is the lake area. You are going to have the Lake Hotel, Yellowstone Lake Hotel, and their cabins. So there are some very beautiful places to stay there. The Yellowstone Lake Hotel is actually in a colonial style. It is historic. It does have a historic marker, so it's a fantastic thing to stop and see. The lake is very beautiful. There are some great trails. I have highlighted in a sample family itinerary some great trails that are accessible to children or people that are not as willing or able to walk longer distances. And sometimes these shorter hikes can be a little bit tricky to find in Yellowstone. If you are going east, this could be your east entrance. Cody, Wyoming is just this way. Buffalo Bill State Park you could stay at. That's another place if you want a public campsite that you could look into staying. And that, of course, is in Wyoming. There's Cody. It is a little bit of a trek from Cody to get into this east entrance and all the way into the park. Of course, your first visitor center is going to be this fishing bridge right here after you enter the park. However, Cody is fantastic, and there are some can't miss things about Cody that I've also illustrated in the sample family itinerary on our website. So again, as we're going south on the southern loop through Fishing Bridge, we come down here and we get to our Grant area of the park. Grant is going to be the southernmost visitor center and sort of section of that park. If you are coming up from the Tetons are directly south of Yellowstone, then Grant may be a fantastic place to stay. There is a lodge right here at Grant, so you can stay there. You can get more information on our website or through Xanterra, because again, it's run by the park concessionaire. And then right here is your furthest south campsite in the park. This one is Lewis Lake Campground. Notice it is almost at 8,000 feet in elevation. It is closest to the southern entrance of the park and closest to the Grand Teton National Park. It is run by the NPS, so that has a 6-month booking window. So if you're going to toggle between Grand Teton National Park and Yellowstone, this could be a great place to stay. So that is the grand overview of Yellowstone National Park. I just wanted to make sure that you had a couple big takeaways. Number one, not every campground within the park is either run by the concessionaire or a backcountry campsite. A lot of the other campgrounds may not be as popular or as well known, but there are a lot of campgrounds that are run by the NPS where you can and should take your RVs if that's how you travel. You can enjoy your RVs at almost all of these NPS campgrounds. You need to be mindful of the length limits, and you just need to understand that you're not going to have hookups. But I think that given the elevation, that is a very doable experience during the summer in Yellowstone. Additionally, I want you to be aware that all of these lodges within Yellowstone have the 13-month booking window. It opens on the 5th of the month, 13 months in advance. A lot of them go quickly. However, we have been able to look around and to find still availability for this upcoming summer. I'm recording this at the end of February. I think we even got a weekend or a couple days in a row at Grant in July, the weekend after July 4th. So it is absolutely possible you may need to switch hotel or lodge every night or two, but it is probably very possible that you can still create a fantastic Yellowstone trip and stay all within the park, even if you don't book that far in advance. You just might need to be a little bit more flexible. I do want you to understand how large it is. Now, we have the northern loop, we have this southern loop. I remember one time we were staying in Gardner and we came down to Old Faithful to have dinner, and we had to follow all down this northern loop around through Madison and all down here to get to Old Faithful, of course. And that journey ended up being probably about 2 hours because you go very slow. There are a lot of traffic jams, of course. Buffalo jams is what they call it as well. However, there are often a lot of wonderful surprises that you get along the way. And I remember very clearly that night on our way back from eating dinner at Old Faithful Inn, we were, I don't know if it was somewhere closer to Madison or Norris, I think probably closer to Madison. We actually saw a wolf walking right along the side of our car, as it were. So just taking the road, taking the edge of the road like a bike path along the side. So that was a really exciting moment. So that's the thing about Yellowstone. You will have all these exciting moments, even in the frustration of maybe some traffic issues. Yellowstone is fantastic. I highly suggest that you come up with a plan and you find a way to go. It is a lot to digest in one visit. You may choose to do a couple of things within the park, and then just know that it is a destination you'll want to return to over and over again. Again, if you would like a more detailed breakdown of all of these different places to stay and things that you should probably know about each of these locations, you can go to npsfamilytravel.com and you can check out our Yellowstone Guide to Accommodations. I tried to simplify it. It took a long time sort of popping in and out through all of the concessionaire and NPS information. So I'm hoping that what I have packaged for you makes it quick and easy for you to make some decisions and just a general game plan how to get started on your Yellowstone itinerary. So thanks for joining, and I hope to see you soon on npsfamilytravel.com and the forums. Have a great day.